if you're not a super competitive player who just uses the best gear, it's still important to know what the best gear is so that you could react to it on the battlefield. So it's that time of year that we go and compile all of the items in War Robots and we decide which is the best and which is the worst using the best format ever invented, a tier list. Something to keep in mind is that the meta is always changing. And there's a lot of patches that can come and nerf things and buff things and change where they land on the list. If you're seeing this video in the future, check out my channel. I might have made an updated one. If you disagree with any of my rankings, tell me in the comments and we can talk about it. But remember, every list is subjective. Depending on your playstyle, you might rank things differently than I do, and that's okay. We can have differences in an opinion. But anyway, let's get right into the list. You might have been able to guess this, but the two titans in F tier are obviously going to be Arthur and Kid. These are, in my opinion, the two worst titans in the game. I'm going to have a little hot take here, and I'm going to say that Arthur's actually aged worse than Kid. And I think that has to do with the direction that the meta has gone in. The problem with Arthur is that it's really reliant on its shield for its tankiness. Arthur's actual base health really sucks. It's almost as bad as Ao Ming's, despite its drawbacks, such as the fact that it has the worst Titan firepower when its ability is down, or it can only equip 3 modules, unlike every other Titan who gets 4. Kid uses defense points as its primary protection system, which synergizes really well with Titan repair amplifiers. Since you can restore health all you want, but you can't restore physical shields by any means currently, I think Kid's a little better. Despite that, both of these titans are really not worth investing in, and they both suck. So I've left them both in F tier. There's only one titan that I've decided to put in D tier, and it's Nodens. I would normally rank this titan a lot higher, but I think it's kind of fallen off since I last used it. This titan's from an era where it was supposed to be supporting Arthur's, Kid's, and Minos's by giving them something they didn't have, the suppression and the heal. Now most brawlers already heal themselves, already suppress the enemies on their own, and, well, with the rust effect, the heal isn't even useful anyway. Still, I'd much rather see a Nodens on my team than an Arthur or a Kid, so it's a tier above those two. Schreier can be a fun titan because it's got a ton of damage, but that's basically all it has. It doesn't have a lot of defense points, it doesn't have a lot of health, it doesn't have a lot of speed. Its only utility option is Phase Exile, which can save you sometimes, but has a really short range, doesn't work against stealth robots, etc. The Overpower ability is nice to give you some damage, but it only works for a very short duration, limiting you to only using certain weapons, and on top of that, it has a really useless core upgrade. Most robots who are based on damage will have like a damage boost, but this one just has defense mitigation for some reason, even though alphas already have 100% defense mitigation, so it does nothing for you. So it might seem like it has like a ton of damage, but it doesn't really have much more damage than a lot of other options. It's still good though, and it's C tier. If you want to put some really good weapons on it, you can use it. The next entry into C tier is going to be the Aether Titan. This thing's force field just doesn't really protect it that much anymore. You can maybe take a couple seconds of like really high firepower, but past that, you're just a sitting duck in the middle of the sky. Still, it has some great utility with high firepower, a speed boost, a heal, and an EMP beam. So it can work if you really try to make it work. The final entry into C tier is going to be Sirius. I put this above Nodens because I think that its kit is generally more useful than Nodens is. It at least provides some gray healing, which as you can see here, I'm able to heal up my Rook a little bit. Even though he has his own healing ability, his healing ability can't heal gray damage, so I can at least give him some healing. Additionally, Sirius gets like a buff every other update. They keep increasing its durability. Like by 2025, this thing's gonna be like impossible to kill. So it has some sort of brawling capability, and it also has the sonic turret. It goes faster whenever it drops them. Unfortunately, my Sirius is really low level, so you're not seeing it at its maximum potential right now, but it's still got some viability, and I think it's deserving of at least C tier by now, whereas before it would be in like D tier. Funnily enough, here we have Muromets up in the B tier above the Aether. The Aether was really supposed to be a upgrade to the Muromets, but after all the nerfs that the Aether got and the Muromets didn't, now I feel like it's kind of the other way around. Overall, it just sort of feels like Muromets has more consistent abilities. You can immediately EMP people through walls, which can really stagger them, whereas Aether has to charge it up. And also, Muromets has a stealth rather than a force field, which the stealth is just better after they nerfed the force field to the point where it doesn't really protect you that much anymore. And while you do lose the healing and speed boost from the Aether if you use a Muromets, honestly, they nerfed that really hard too on the Aether, and Muromets at least has a core damage boost, whereas Aether doesn't. So in my opinion, the trade-offs that Muromets makes are well worth it and solidify it as being a little bit better than Aether. In the past, I probably would have ranked Ao Ming very similar to Sharanga, usually a little bit above because its firepower is slightly better, with the added benefit of being able to do things like this, where you're flying around and hiding behind a tall building and shooting enemies while they can't shoot you. I now think that Ao Ming is deserving of B tier, and this is mostly because of the legendary pilot who just came out with the ultimate version. If you didn't know, it's reverse compatible with the normal version, and it unlocks a completely different playstyle with Ao Ming. The stealth that this pilot provides allows you to make full use of Ao Ming's incredible firepower without getting cooked. With the right weapons and the right strategies, this thing can even beat Meta Titans, and I think it's been way too underrated for way too long. Heimdall is similar to Sirius in that when it initially released, its performance was really subpar, so Pixonic gave it a small buff every other update until it became pretty solid. Heimdall is, in my opinion, the best support titan in the game right now because of the fact that it doesn't really lean too much into the support role. It's a tough brawler first and foremost, with support being a passive part of its kit that's always working in the background. As the years have gone on, it feels like Minos' tier just keeps on dropping. New Titans are constantly power creeping this poor thing, having better defenses and firepower while not really giving up mobility, which is supposed to be Minos' forte. Still, it's probably one of the best bang for buck brawlers and is unlikely to ever be nerfed, and it's a ton of fun to play too. Starting us off in A tier is Luchador. Put simply, Luchador is basically just a better version of Minos. Just like Minos, it can send itself flying across the map, but it has the added benefits of suppression, healing, great damage resist, buffed up durability, better weapon slots, and it's also great value. It's able to be purchased for Platinum, but you need the patience to save up 2,000. Our other A tier Titan is Indra, and what can I say? This is the literal Titan embodiment of Ravana, the people's robot, the everlasting meta. This Titan has the ever so valuable Vipassana ability, allowing it to phase its way through just about any meta. A worthy Titan for anyone's hanger, no doubt about it. Before we get to S tier, I want to remind you guys to slap that like button. No, I'm just kidding. I wanted to give you guys a little disclaimer. You may or may not already know this, but every Titan in S tier is subject to some very, very rigorous nerfs. If I was making this tier list just a year ago, Aether, the Titan that barely scraped its way into C tier, would be the #1 Titan by a super wide margin. Chances are, a few months down the line, these S tier Titans will be with Aether in C tier or lower. Before you invest in an S tier Titan, consider your options. A tier and below has some great choices, just saying. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into S tier. Rook has reigned in S tier for an update too long, I'd say. It's like if an Arthur could regenerate its shields, heal itself, fly, apply the strongest suppression out of any Titan in the game, you get the idea. It's basically just a better Luchador. That being said, with the upcoming nerf, I think it's probably going to drop to A tier. Eiffel is a newer S tier Titan with not only the best firepower in the game, but also incredible durability with its summoned armor, and blazing fast mobility with its dash. Its stat line is incredible, and with the upcoming Newton nerfs, it's a very likely candidate for best Titan in the game next update. Speaking of Newton, yes, you guessed it, at the very top of S tier is Newton, the completely unbalanced walking nightmare that has been terrorizing the game for several months now, not only having top-of-the-line durability and firepower, but also the ability to lift people up from cover and one-shot them from 800 meters away. I love war robots. Anyway, this thing is getting some aggressive nerfs with the upcoming update. Chances are, though, these nerfs will be the first of many, as they aren't nearly enough to shake Newton down from S tier. Here's the final image of the full list. If you skip to the end just to see this, be sure to go check out any sections you disagree with to see why I rank things the way I did. Before I end this video though, I'd like to talk a bit about the Bedwyr Titan, or Bedwyr, I don't really know how he's pronounced. Bedwyr? I feel like a future version of me is going to be making the thumbnail and want to put him in it, but in order for me to not be clickbaiting, I'm going to have to talk about him a little. But I don't want to include him in the official rankings because he's still on the test server and really subject to changes. Like, for example, we have no idea what his legendary pilot is going to do, and we don't know if Pixonic wants to change him, make him any differently. You guys all remember Sirius. It was insane in the test server, and then it came to the live server, and it sucked. Regardless, assuming his power remains about the same as when he was released, I think he's probably going to replace Rook as the S tier tank Titan. He might not have that same insane mobility that Rook does, but who really cares about that when you have an absorber that's going to give you more durability when it takes damage, and the duration is longer than the cooldown, and that's not even mentioning this new taunt effect that it has with a death mark as well. I don't really think there exists any Titans that are going to be able to beat this one in a face-to-face fight. But anyway, as always, I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.